You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
Hello and welcome into this week's edition of Mizzou That's Who, your podcast for Missouri athletics here on KC Sports Network. I am one of your wonderful co-hosts, Tucker Franklin, joined as always by Gabe DeArmond and Maggie Johnson. A big week for Mizzou athletics. Lots of stuff going on in Columbia. Missouri Tigers win 45-14 on the football field over the New Mexico State Aggies. And let's talk to the guy that was in the stadium, who was in the confines. Gabe, what were your first impressions of Missouri's dominant win over the Aggies?
My God, it was cold. I mean, honestly, that was my main impression. It was. I've been covering games in that stadium for 4 years, and I went to a lot growing up. So, I've got about 35 years of history in that stadium. I've never seen fewer people at a game than were there on Saturday night. And look, I don't blame anybody. I mean, you would have, if you weren't related to a player, I'll be honest, I don't really know why you were there at 6:30 that night in that weather against that team. It was weird, man. I mean, I think there were fewer people there than were at the Chase Daniel Year's spring game. They announced 45, but I think it was probably half that, maybe half that.
They shouldn't have done senior night that night. I do not know what they were thinking.
Well,
I get the idea they wanted to play a cupcake on senior night, but nobody was.
I don't think. I mean, they didn't know it was going to be a night game until 12 days before, and they didn't know it was going to be 6 degrees.
I don't know if it would have mattered that much. Those students were still going to leave and go home. I mean,
that's a weird thing to me because, I used to come back to Columbia to go to basketball games on Christmas break, and I would never go home until I guess they didn't used to play. When I was in school, they didn't play after Thanksgiving usually, but the sporting events were why you stayed, but it's not really a thing like that anymore.
I think I missed the game Thanksgiving break of my freshman year, that first one. And then I never missed another game after that. But I understand why they maybe want to go home. I don't think you can stay in your dorm without some type of permission or being a long-term. So I think that freshmen basically have to leave unless they're an international student. So
Gotcha.
I can maybe understand freshmen and sophomores, those in Greek houses, leaving, but it just sucks that those seniors didn't really get a send-off like they kind of deserved.
I mean, I don't think student attendance is going to be that much better this week.
Likely not.
Friday afternoon, right after Thanksgiving. I mean, how many kids that live in Kansas City or St. Louis are driving back for that game? I mean, I would have driven back and said, I'm just going to stay in. I'm just going back to school on Friday. I'll be home later. But
yeah, it's just another weekend.
Right.
It's just another weekend. Students can go out, so I don't know why students wouldn't go back maybe on Friday. But I guess we will see. I will be there, so that is all that matters. I'm just kidding.
Same.
I probably won't be there. I'm gonna say it right now. I'm probably not gonna be there on Black Friday. Be hauled up on my couch watching all the college football that's going on because Black Friday's got a pretty strong slate this year for college football. There's a lot of really good games on. I was trying to look up the time for the Missouri-Arkansas game.
It's 2:30.
I think it's 2:30, yeah.
It is 2:30. I thought it was the afternoon slot. I don't know if you've noticed this. This is something weird that I've noticed about college football scheduling recently. The Big 12 has started doing 1 o'clock games, and I think that that's very odd. That doesn't feel right to me for a game to start at 1. It feels like too early than 11. It's in that weird spot. I don't know.
That's funny because back in the dark ages when games were not on TV, every home game in Columbia was at 1 o'clock. I mean, when I was growing up, that's when they played, unless they got some special exemption to be on TV to get beat 73-0 by Texas A&M or something.
Wouldn't happen this year.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Not by Texas A&M.
Right. Hopefully that wouldn't happen this year. We got bigger problems if they're getting beat that bunch by Texas A&M. But yeah, so we got to see our first look of Sam Horn. I think that's the biggest thing that everyone's talking about from this game. And I think the second biggest thing that everyone's talking about from this game is how come we didn't see more of Sam Horn? One drive, 0 for 2. Didn't collect any stats on the day.
Kind of.
Kind of.
I mean, one was called back, and
he should have. Yeah.
Yeah, there was an ineligible receiver or ineligible player down the field, and that sucks. It was a good throw and it was a great run. And I mean,
yeah.
What are you gonna do?
So we got to see Sam Horn for the first time in live action. I want to know your thoughts, Gabe. Was it everything you expected it to be?
I mean, I wrote on our message board because I knew what was going to happen. As soon as he threw one pass, it was, oh my God, he's amazing.
Yeah.
That pass could have landed on the hill and people would have said he's amazing. I said, if you saw something that made you think you know more about Sam Horn than you did last week, it's because it's what you want to see. It was a nice throw to Barrett Bannister. Don't get me wrong. The next one nearly got Barrett decapitated, so that one was less nice. But I mean, he was 0 for 2 and he ran one time. I don't know. I don't know any more about him than I knew beforehand, and that's fine.
I think he threw one ball. I actually think one of the 0 for 2s he threw pretty high over his head. Mm-hmm. And Twitter was all like, that guy should be taller. That's not Sam Horn's fault.
Yeah. I seriously think some people probably felt that way.
No, I really think so too. I think some people were joking, but some people are serious.
And then, I mean, poor Jack Abraham, all he did was go do what the coach told him to do in his 26th year in college. And,
I feel bad for that guy. He comes in the worst possible situation in Kansas State, throws 2 interceptions on 3 attempts or something like that. And the other, the third attempt was battered or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was awful. And Missouri fans are calling for the 3rd string quarterback, possibly the 4th string quarterback over him. I think it's fair to call Sam Horn the 4th string quarterback because we've actually seen Tyler Macon come in and go under center.
I would call Sam Horn the 3rd string quarterback.
Tyler Macon has gone under center. Have they ever snapped the ball on that play that they tried to do?
And Elijah Young fumbled it last week at
Tennessee.
Oh,
that's right.
It was the only thing better than them never having actually run that play was that when they ran the play, they turned it over.
I blocked that out of my memory already. Because every time I see it do it, I was like, oh, they're not running the ball. They're not.
Right,
gonna snap the ball. They're just trying to draw them off sides.
It was a super long con. I mean, it was 5 times before they snapped it.
Respect it. You gotta build it up so you take them away.
I mean, and to
maybe
give
Elijah
him
Young
credit,
ready.
The play was there if Elijah Young caught the toss. It was gonna work. But no, but Abraham, the thing is, he earned playing time more than Sam Horn has in that game. I mean, He is the backup quarterback. He had earned the right to go in. Sam Horn went in, I'll be honest, I think mostly because, Eli was kind of tired of hearing people say, why isn't Sam Horn in? So he's like, I go play a series, man.
He's probably glad that pass was called back. But, I mean, I also get why Abraham was playing. I mean...
Yeah. It's senior night.
And he goes to every practice just like Sam Horn does. He puts in the same amount of work as Sam Horn does, I'm sure. I mean, I can't say that for a fact. I don't watch it, just like nobody on the message boards or on Twitter. None of us watch practices. But I would assume that he puts in the exact amount of work as any other quarterback on that team.
You would think so, yeah.
I do feel bad for Jack Abraham. I just feel like he's had a tough shake from injuries to transferring to just a bunch of stuff, and then transferring here thinking he was going to be the starting quarterback to losing a job to Brady Cook, who is a tough guy to lose a job to. I'm going to say it. But so he has to sit a whole season out behind there. But yeah, good to see him.
But flip side, I mean, he should have 4 Masters by the end of this year.
He's going to be the
do
most
all right in life.
employable person in the country. He's going to have so many credentials. He'll be fine.
Which masters do you want me to use to apply for this job? Because like I can pick. It's like picking out your Camelot repeat performer cards, right?
Didn't we see that he's now going to go to dentistry school though? I feel like that was reported, so I'm not sure.
Well, he's going to, yeah.
So give him another year of eligibility.
I don't know what that brings. I really don't.
He can play for the dental school football team. I don't think he has any more years at this one though.
That's too bad, because maybe there needs to be another bridge between Sam Horn and the next quarterback. Who knows? We won't know. I can tell you that for a fact. We're not going to get to learn any of that information.
Right. Not until at least spring football.
Right. So I don't know if you can take a whole lot away from this New Mexico State game, just because New Mexico State is a bad football team. We talked about how bad they were previous to this. They they beat New Mexico, who is also a very bad football team. And Missouri did what they did. They came out, they won. Their offense looked competent, which was a good sign.
But the offense was disappointing to me, though. I mean, in that game against that team, it was like Cody Schrader for 3, Cody Schrader for 4, Brady Cook scrambling. And it's like, you shouldn't have to be creative and run trick plays to get big plays against that team. And they can't. It is the least explosive offense I've seen here since 2015. And like, that's not anything we didn't know, but the only thing that got them really much of anything was when Luther ran the ball that was anything over, 10 yards. And Brady Cook shouldn't have to be running around for you to get first downs against New Mexico State. I mean, you ought to be able to do, and yeah, they scored 45 and 7 of them, I think, were on defense, but it just was, it was like when you lined up against the other team and you said, well, we know we're better than you. So literally all we have to do is run the ball straight ahead because you can't stop us. And it's like, I don't know. I wanted to see a little bit more. I came out of that game feeling worse about the offense than I honestly went into it feeling. And maybe that's not fair, but that's how I felt. Maybe I was just mad that I had to watch it at night and it was really boring.
Barrett Bannister had a good game until he possibly will never play in a Mizzou uniform again. But he had a very good game, and some of those yards were even negated. So, I mean, that was good to see. But yes, otherwise it was the same thing kind of over and over again.
Ryan Horstkamp caught a touchdown pass, so the tight end position existed on it for a night. That was good.
He did.
Tavoris Jones got in. He fumbled. I don't think Eli was thrilled with that part of it.
Look at the stats here. Barrett Bannister, 7 catches, 91 yards. Holsterkamp, 2 catches, 32 yards, and a tutty. Luther Burden, 2 tutties with 35 yards and 3 catches. I mean, I think
Dominic Lovett also played.
Yeah, 1 catch for 10 yards. He was in the game. Toski Dove, 1 catch for 7 yards. So a lot of the guys that we thought, this just popped into my head. So this is what we're gonna talk about it because it just popped into my head.
Okay.
I felt like we were gonna see more of Toski Dove this season than maybe we have. I don't know if that's a schematic thing. I don't know what it is. But I'm just curious why we haven't seen more of Toski Dove.
I thought we were going to see more of a lot of things this season, if I'm being honest, on offense. I mean, this was the year that they were supposed to be able to move the football. And I don't know. I don't know. We say the same things about this offense every week. I don't know what else there is to say at this point. Toski did get a touchdown. I think it was against Tennessee on that 4th down play. So that was good for him. But yeah, he's kind of disappeared. Mookie Cooper in the last 4 weeks really has become their offense has become handed off to Cody Schrader, throw a quick pass to either Burden or Lovett. Not both of them are not allowed to play well on the same day, but one or the other, and then have Brady Cook scramble. That's the offense.
I think Lovett had another false start in this game as well, which I'm not sure how you have a false start when you could hear conversations in the stands. So I'm really not sure how that even happened, but I don't know. It is underwhelming. And I remember I said this on the podcast. I was like, the one thing we're going to have no problems doing is moving the ball with a running back. And I mean, we do. But we have so many more problems than that. And I'm just not sure if Drink's at the point where he's just like, let's make it through the season. And that's why it's what we're doing, which you hate for it to be rivalry week and us be thinking that, because that's the last thing I think anybody wants. Like, we want to beat Arkansas.
I think they hit that point at South Carolina and I wrote it that week. Like, look, their best chance to win games is just to run the ball and sometimes punt and just not turn it over. And it's super boring. And the problem is it just doesn't give you any idea of what it's going to be in the future. But if you want to be 6-6 and you want to keep playing after Friday, that's the best way for this team to do it. So, like, I get why he's doing it, but you're still allowed to be frustrated by it.
Mizzou, speaking of Friday's game, Mizzou is, according to DraftKings, 3.5-point dogs. They, I believe, opened at 5. So that line has gone down. 4.5, 5. So that line has gone down a little bit. 3.5-point home dogs. So that'll be an interesting development to see where that line kind of shifts, if it does at all, for this game. And that's not great for Missouri, who there's looking for bowl eligibility, obviously. I believe I saw something from Brett McMurphy that said, here's a tweet from Brett McMurphy. 9 5-win teams play teams who have clinched a bowl. All 9 teams needing a win are underdogs, which is a very interesting stat. I guess it makes sense, though. But
and like 6 of them are Power 5 teams, I think. There's 17. I think there's 17 5-win teams right now. I counted them up this morning. I mean, like 2 of them play each other. There's also some schools like UNLV, I know, and Rice are 4-7, but they could win and get to 5-7. Like, it's really impossible to figure out. But if they want to know they're going to play another game, they have to win on Friday.
Right. I think the 2 SEC ones were what? It was Auburn at Alabama
and Vandy
at Tennessee, which both of those are looking slim. Yeah, both of those are looking slim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that we're probably not underdogs had Arkansas not had the game that they had last week. I think we're probably favorites if they don't come out and just destroy Ole Miss.
But that was the weirdest box score I've ever. They won, like, it wasn't close. You know how many yards Ole Miss had in that game? 704.
Oh, a lot. Yeah, a lot.
And they got beat by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. KJ only threw for 168 yards, but he had 3 touchdowns in that. Rocket Sanders ran for 3. Rocket Sanders ran for 232 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, but
that's insane.
I think Missouri's going to have a tough time this weekend.
I agree.
I don't think this is going to be a very fun game to watch. I respect KJ Jefferson.
Let's be honest. I mean, seriously, what was the last Missouri game that was played this season where you said that was a fun game to watch?
South Carolina.
Oh, no, I thought that was a dreadful, boring game. I mean, they won, so that was good, but like, it was 23-10. I thought the Georgia game was fun. That was good.
Vandy was okay for a bit.
Vandy was a rough one. Yeah.
When you consider it's equal competition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Vandy's on a winning streak.
They are. Shout out.
They just beat a team 2 teams that we didn't beat, right?
Correct.
Shout out the Gamecocks too, by the way. That game was wild.
Every time I kept looking down at ESPN, I was like, oh, wait, but they're still not losing. Like, they just scored again. What the hell happened here?
Yeah, incredibly weird. That's what I get for saying that the SEC East was the Big Ten West. The SEC West was like, or SEC East was like, screw you. We're going to show you that we're not. So, the good slate of college football this last weekend, even though the games weren't the best, just with the old SEC bye week that they like to throw in there, the non-conference right before rivalry week is kind of annoying. But I get it. Gave Mizzou the 5th win of the season. They need this one. As I mentioned, 5-point dogs. I have a hard time not thinking that Arkansas is gonna have a day.
If we lose this game, we have no one to blame but ourselves. We missed the field goal against Auburn, then fumbled.
Yeah.
We made mistakes against Kentucky, against Florida. I mean, there's no reason we don't have seven wins right now, except that we didn't execute.
Except that the other team scored more points.
Yeah,
but yes.
Except our All-American kicker and
again though, like Alabama is 2 plays from being undefeated, and they're 3 plays from being 6-5. Like that's sports, you know. I mean, it just that's every team in America. Or not Alabama, Arkansas is actually like 2 plays from 9-2, and you know maybe
A&M,
playing in the A&M, and they lost Liberty when they didn't get a 2-point conversion.
Liberty.
Yeah. So, you know, I just think every team can play that game. And I don't know. I get why 6-6 is important for the program and to go to a bowl game and all that. I have a hard time seeing a huge difference between 5-7 and 6-6. I don't know. I guess there's a big supersized trophy and this fake rivalry that everybody wants to believe is a real rivalry. But I don't know. I don't see a huge difference.
I don't know about the fake rivalry. I'm not saying that like I despise Arkansas, but I lived down in Southwest Missouri for a bit. And I mean, everybody, you're either Mizzou or you're Arkansas. And, you know, you talk to each other. That you had that 2007 Cotton Bowl when Tony Temple ran all over Darren McFadden's team. Like, I mean, it was fun. I think that's kind of... Mike Anderson left us. Barry Odom went there. I mean, there's a little bit of something there.
There's a little bit. I mean, it would help if both teams were good at some point at the same time.
Right.
But also, I mean, this game's only going to be played like 2 more times on the last week of the year, I think. Maybe they'll still do it the last week of the year. But I think if you asked 100 Arkansas fans, like, who's your biggest rivalry? Like, I think maybe 25 of them would say Missouri.
Yeah.
I really don't think it's more than that.
I don't think they would say it, but I think deep down more of them think it than would say it.
Maybe.
Mainly because I don't think LSU sees them as their biggest rivalry. Actually, no, LSU fans don't.
And Texas A&M doesn't either.
Yeah. So it's like, who is Arkansas? If they don't pick Mizzou, who is it? Because I don't think anybody would pick them back.
Well, if you asked 100 Mizzou fans, who's your biggest rival? How many are saying Arkansas?
Yeah, everyone's saying Kansas.
Yeah,
and
right,
we don't even play 20. Kansas.
Right.
But I mean, I think that if you asked who the biggest rival that we play is, I think most people would say Arkansas. And then I think some people would pepper in like maybe some Kentuckies.
I would say Kentucky. Yeah.
I think some people would say Kentucky.
Yeah.
But then Kentucky told us that they don't think that we're their rivals either.
Yeah,
so.
it's just it takes longer than 10 years to have a rivalry. I get it.
Right.
But I just I don't love the force feeding of this is Missouri's rivalry. Like, it'll develop. It is. I mean, the best moment in this rivalry is still when Frank Haith tried to punch Mike Anderson at midcourt in Missouri. That was the best thing that's ever happened in this rivalry, and it'll never be topped. You know, but
so you look at the all-time series, 9-4 to Missouri. In the trophy series, there's 2 different series on the Wikipedia page. Missouri leads 5-2. So listen, we know Eli Drinkwood's teams love to play for trophies. If we figure anything out about this team this year, there's a trophy, they're going to try to win a game. But if there's not, they're not even going to.
Whatever. Right. I did somebody asked him about getting to 6-6 and how big would that would be. And he said he's not even thinking about that. He just wants to be 1-0 and win the trophy. I'm like, no, but your players have already talked about a bowl game. So they're thinking about it. You might not be thinking about it, but they're thinking about it.
I would rather, I don't care so much about the trophy. It's almost like last year when you would see Sam Pittman in Arkansas and all that. They kept posting photos with their 3 trophies. I'm like, but it doesn't matter. Like those trophies don't really matter. You beat a 6-6 Mizzou team, a not good LSU team.
Are you telling me that you do not want a 4-foot tall trophy of the state of Missouri and the state of Arkansas with the big shelter insurance banner on it? Come on.
How cumbersome. That trophy looks incredibly cumbersome.
It has to have its own seat on the team flight.
You can't put it on like the floorboard. It'd block up the whole aisle. You can't.
The drink cart would never make it down if that trophy was in the aisle.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of it now just to kind of jog the old memory. Is it like colored on ones? Is it like red? Do they flip the line off of it?
It's not. They have 2 separate pieces.
Okay.
So it comes out. It's like a puzzle piece.
Okay.
Pop the other one in there.
I like the games that they play rivalries for, like actual things, not like Missouri and Kansas played for the drum. Drum. Missouri and Iowa State used to play for the telephone, which was awesome. The best.
It was like so ugly.
I forget. I think it's Iowa, Minnesota play for a pig.
Stanford
and Cal.
Yeah, Floyd of Rosedale.
The axe.
Yeah, like those are the cool rivalries. I don't need a shelter. No offense to shelter insurance. Like if you put a shelter insurance banner on like a raccoon, cool.
Ooh,
then I would like that better than a trophy. But
Michigan and Michigan State played for Paul Bunyan, and they changed the color of the pants for whoever wins. They get to change the pant color. Okay. Little Brown Jug, I think, is Minnesota and Michigan. I could be wrong on that one.
There's the jug, yeah.
There's a lot of good. There's a lot of good ones. I do wish that the trophy was less weird. I don't know if that's bad for me to say, but like it just being it looks. Hold on a second. I'm looking at the picture that you were talking about, Maggie, about like come snap a photo with all 3 trophies. The boot trophy is the exact same.
It's the exact same without Missouri.
Yeah.
Just put LSU on the bottom.
That
interesting.
Copycats. I don't like that. With your own thing.
I think that one's a little bit older than ours.
Well, yeah. No,
I also don't.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
I also don't like the name Battle Line Rivalry. Like that, I don't know. That just it doesn't roll off the tongue. It's something
we try to make this. We try to make borders like every single thing has to be about a border. Like we got
I liked it when
the border war and the arch rivalry.
Briefly, somebody tried to make it Armageddon, except AMRO. That was cooler.
Oh,
it's not Farmageddon, but it's not bad.
Farmageddon's strong. Like that is a
amazing.
Good rivalry name.
Amazing. Yeah.
I think we need people to.
They just play for a bushel of wheat.
Perfect. You get corn if you win in Iowa. It's wheat in Kansas, corn in Iowa. I remember because I was producing that Kansas State show, and they were like going at it with like Kansas State fans, like wheat's better than corn. I'm just like, what is happening right now?
It was really weird. It was
the weirdest thing ever. And they were like changing their, like putting the wheat emoji in their Twitter names and the corn. I was like, what? I never had been exposed to that before. This year, which seems
so Midwestern. Crazy. It's so Midwestern.
Incredibly Midwestern.
People around the country are probably like, what?
In poor Nebraska, like they're supposed to be the corn people. What happened there? They just lost the rights to their corn. Yeah, they're not good.
Not good. Did Missouri and Nebraska play for anything? I can't really remember.
I don't know because Missouri never got it.
That trophy was always in Nebraska.
They just played for the state of Nebraska. Nebraska kept winning it.
Missouri, Nebraska trophy. Let's quick Google search to see if that's a thing.
I don't remember one.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
The victory bell.
Oh.
Who knew?
Interesting.
The more you know. This is what this podcast is for.
I feel like this has been a very educational podcast.
Important knowledge. I'm sure people turned on this podcast saying, I wonder about college football rivalries and what trophies they play for. Which you should have, because Eli Drinkwitz's teams get up for trophy games, and this is a trophy game.
Like, if we want to break down Bumper Pool versus Cody Schrader, cool, but I would much rather talk about, the made-up raccoon trophy that they're playing for or whatever.
Oh, there's going to be like 100 rushing attempts in this game. At least. Between both teams.
All I'm gonna say is if we have those defensive players out that were not in the New Mexico State game, we're gonna struggle badly. Because I think what was Hopper, McGuire,
Charleston, and maybe somebody else.
Yeah, I mean that's not gonna be good.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people, and it's a lot of good people.
Right.
Most of our best players.
Not only is it the quantity, it's also the quality.
Yeah.
Maggie requests if you get injured in the future, please be worse.
Please be bad. Yeah.
Can we get some offensive linemen?
Looking up the stats from Arkansas and Ole Miss to see how many times they ran the ball in that game, because I do believe
Ole Miss.
It was a good amount. I mean,
Ole Miss does
it has to be a lot, at least for Arkansas, because he ran for 232 yards.
I like running though. I thought on Saturday night, I thought forward passes should have been outlawed. Like anything that could possibly stop the clock should have been a penalty in that game.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's why Toski Dove and Dominic Lovett weren't getting targets.
Yeah.
43 rushing attempts for the Arkansas Razorbacks last week.
Okay.
I think it's a feasible thing to hit 100 rushing attempts between these two teams.
It's possible. I would take the under.
Yeah, I'd take the under. Probably like 7.
I would say 80.
Yeah, 80
is more likely.
Sanders had 24 carries just himself, 202 yards, 3
I know
targets.
KJ ran
Schrader.
a little bit.
Yeah, Cody Schrader unofficially, just by my count in that game, had 39 carries for like 79 yards on Saturday night. It was just like 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards.
He had 2 touchdowns too, right? I think Luther had 2. He had 2. Dalen Carnell, had a touchdown.
That's a nice.
Yeah. So
I think Arkansas forced a lot of turnovers, which is why they had the ball so often and didn't have to go very far.
But I think, I mean, I think if they win, they'll go to either the Liberty Bowl, the Las Vegas Bowl, or the Birmingham Bowl. Those are the choices.
Yeah, that hasn't really changed.
Birmingham's back kind of in the picture.
Thanks, Gabe.
Because only because the SEC is kind of looks likely to not get 2 teams in the playoff. So if the SEC gets 2 teams in the playoff, I think that, or 4 teams in the New Year's Six, then the Birmingham Bowl's out of the picture. But Tennessee kind of screwed that up last week. So unless LSU beats Georgia, the Birmingham Bowl is kind of in play.
So you're saying those 14 extra points that Tennessee scored against Mizzou aren't going to get them in a better bowl?
I mean, had they saved them for South Carolina and then added 14 more to that, then yes, they would be in a better bowl.
They don't have Hendon Hooker anymore either, because Hendon Hooker tore his ACL. So
that
stinks for them.
That's unfortunate.
That's awful.
I hate when injuries.
I don't know. We could be leading up to MUKU basketball December 10th and MUKU football whenever they play the Liberty Bowl. Like, I think that's a possible thing if Missouri wins. If Missouri wins, this is all out the window, and they're hoping to play in the Pepperoni Bowl in North Philadelphia or whatever against the Rutgers JV or something.
In one of the bowl games that Cheez-It sponsors, because they now sponsor 2.
Right.
You have a good chance to go to a Cheez-It bowl.
That'd be cool, though, because you probably get free Cheez-It.
Oh, I would love that. I love
that'd be a good. The hot and spicy. I would request hot and spicy. Those are the best Cheez-Its.
They're the best snack crackers out there. Not sponsored by that, but
look at that free promotion right there.
Golly, that's a very JV move on my part to give away a free plug. Oh well.
Maybe they'll send us some Cheez-Its on next week's show.
I'll put them up on my shelf.
You think anybody at Cheez-It is currently listening? Is that
probably?
We'll tag them in the post
at Cheez-Its. Okay, before we move on to other Mizzou athletics, 3.5 point spread. What do you guys think for that pick?
Not Missouri would be my pick.
Yeah.
It's basically a win-loss here. I'm gonna go opposite. I'm gonna take the dub.
Okay.
And you know what would be pretty cool? I shouldn't say this. It wouldn't be cool because it would mean that there's issues with the SEC. But if the SEC wants to get another team into a good bowl, they could help us out a little bit.
They could fix it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that hasn't happened in games before, and I'm not saying that the SEC is above it because I don't think that they are. So, this is what I told some other people. I told some other people that if you see some weird calls and some weird things going in favor of Missouri, which never actually happens, but if you do see it, I was like, you can think to yourself what could be going on.
If we get game fixing to get Missouri in the Birmingham Bowl, I feel like that's the worst college football story of all time.
Listen, whatever it takes. It just means more, Gabe.
Can be fun. Conspiracy theories can be fun.
It just means something.
It just means more money, Gabe.
Does it? Does the Birmingham Bowl mean something?
It means
Mizzou Tulsa in the Birmingham Bowl.
Tulsa kind of stinks.
I don't know if they have 6 wins or not.
I would take that. Yeah, I don't know, but I would take that matchup in a heartbeat. Okay, I think that so if you think about it, usually you get 3.5. You get 3 points at home for home field advantage when Vegas is making these lines. So they really think that Arkansas is 6 points better if they played at a neutral site. Is probably what that line would be. It's about -6, and I think that that probably tracks. Yeah. I'm not going to be placing any money on it because this is a game that I'd like to stay very far away from. But I'll take the you know what? I'll go Missouri plus 3.5 for the fun. For fun. Missouri plus 3.5. And now let's talk about a good program as Keegan O'Toole and Rocky Elam are slated for the NWCA All-Star Classic for Mizzou Wrestling. We don't have to talk about wrestling. They did.
Sorry, guys, I gotta go.
They are currently ranked number 3, but they did lose to Arizona State 19-17. Number 5 Arizona State, by the way. So maybe not.
It was a close battle.
Maybe not fall far in those rankings. I don't know if this is gonna be not great. I don't know if that's like an AP ranking or if that's like a coaches poll ranking or how they do rankings in wrestling. But
the only thing I can guarantee you is there's no such thing as the AP wrestling rankings. Those do not exist.
Sorry. Rankings according to Flow Wrestling. Okay.
I was going to say it's like Flow
Athletics. Yes. For letting me know. But Missouri
rankings according to Desiree Reed Francois, Missouri number 3.
We are the reigning Big 12 champs. I will say that.
And last year was the first year back in the Big 12, correct? If I remember that.
Yeah.
They went to the MAC and won like everything that they won in the MAC and then came back to the Big 12 and won it.
They've won 2 consecutive Big 12 titles, 2012 and 2022.
Maybe that'll get me in trouble if I say it. I shouldn't say anything about going back to the Big 12. So let's talk about Missouri basketball. They played at 5:30 on a Sunday, which is a great time for everyone, for everyone's watching convenience. They haven't played anyone yet. No. Since last time we talked, I believe they've played 2 games. They could have played 3. The SIUE, they beat them 105-80. Big day because I believe they hit the over on that. If I remember correctly, that was a big deal on Twitter when that happened.
I would assume so.
Yeah, they scored 100 points, and that's.
I think
fun.
Demoy Hodge had 30. So
yeah,
pulled out
or 30 plus. Yeah,
that is SEC Player of the Week, Demoy Hodge to you.
Ooh, at that.
So formal.
Does anyone know Mississippi Valley State's like KenPom ranking?
Bad.
I will give you a hint that there are 363 teams.
Oh, 361.
362.
Oh.
Let's go.
And they had a player kind of go off against us, though. I think Collins, I think was his last name.
Yeah, at one point Missouri was ahead 34-28, and one dude for Mississippi Valley State had 22 points.
Derek Collins, 27.
He didn't score for a long time after that, but yeah.
But he was throwing up them shots in the second half because I watched the second half and I didn't know that he had like been going off until I like followed through. And then I was like, this guy had 27 points.
I may be way off here. For some reason, I want to say Terry Collins was like do you remember the Residence Hall linebacker commercial during the Super Bowl? I feel like his name was Terry Collins, but I might be wrong on that.
So just do a quick little Google search of Terry Collins. Terry Collins is also the name of a baseball manager.
New York Philly.
Mets. Yeah, I don't know where he is now, but he was at the Mets at one time. But yeah, so that's the only thing I'm getting up on my Google search is just him. But no, very interesting.
Mississippi Valley State guy isn't the first thing to pop up when you Google that name.
A real shocker. That's not the first Google search result. But if you look at the box score here for the Missouri Tigers, Demoy Hodge, 18 points. All of Twitter rejoices as Isaiah Mosley has 18 points as well as the co-leading scorer on the Missouri basketball team. So,
by the way, it is Terry Tate, the Office linebacker. I was wrong on that, not Terry Collins. So you can go YouTube that later. It was a good one.
There you go. Oh yeah.
No, Isaiah.
I like how
Isaiah's good. It's good to see him doing his thing. I don't know how many assists he had quite a few, I think. Sometimes he doesn't take the extra pass when he probably should, but I mean, if he wants to make that teardrop in the middle of the lane, I'm going to take it. But he's not going to be able to do that in SEC play. Not every game, not every game, but not multiple times a game, likely. I mean, he's playing guys that are matched up to us.
362 and
matched up to us more in height. I mean, he's going to be playing a lot bigger guys in a few weeks.
He had 2 assists according to Google.
Oh, okay. Well, I was wrong.
But
we had over 20 assists, so I assume that he was part of that, but I guess not.
We've got one more week of just like they play Houston Christian. Used to be Houston Baptist until like 3 weeks ago. Didn't want to be Baptists anymore. They're now just Christians. And then they play Coastal Carolina also. So
Chanticleers. That is in Columbia. Houston Baptist also in Columbia as well.
I think our first away game is Wichita State.
Correct.
Yeah. Just imagine Missouri going to Houston Christian. Excuse me. I almost called them Baptist. They're still Houston Baptist in Google. They got to get back. They got to get on that.
That's offensive.
And change that name. But yeah, again, like we were talking about with Mizzou football, kind of hard to take a lot from this team. They're winning games they should win, which is good. That is an improvement from where this team was last year. In winning games you should win. I am encouraged to see. I think Coastal's not a bad team by any stretch. Missouri should beat them, obviously, but I think it's a game that could be closer than some people probably think. But I think that that'll be the first that we really get to see what this team is made of. I like what Dennis has done with just trying to figure out different things with these early games and kind of creating his own adversity and creating own like situations for these guys to deal with. I think that that's a smart thing to do before they get into a pretty tough early conference schedule, and really from their non-con, the end of their non-con into their conference schedule is a tough slate, and SEC is a tough basketball conference anyway. So I mean, they're gonna have some tough sledding here, but good to get as many wins as you can early on in the season.
Yeah,
better than losing. I feel like, yeah,
way better than losing. Kentucky lost the other day. But it is good to see
not to Mississippi Valley State.
No, not to Mississippi Valley State. To actually a good team. But it's good to see players like Noah Carter, Trey Gomillion. Like, you can just tell they're really hard workers. And it's been a while since I've seen – I'm not going to say that Mizzou players haven't been hard workers, but you can just tell. Like, that's the type of player they are. Who was that big kid that played for Mizzou from Maple Grove, Minnesota? Reed Nico. Like they play like him. Like, he played so hard. You could always tell every game they was playing hard, and it's good to see players like that.
Reed blocked Anthony Edwards, and one of my buddies
Yes,
is a Minnesota
he was-
Wolves fan, Timberwolves fan. I have that clip saved in my bookmarks on Twitter, where I just send it every now and again to let him know that Reed Nico owns Anthony Edwards.
I believe that was the game we found out that Reed Nico was Tom Crean's favorite basketball player, maybe in the history of the sport. Like, we went into the post-game press conference, and I don't know, Reed was fine. He had like 8 points and 6 rebounds or something.
Yeah.
And we went into the post-game press conference, and Tom Crean went on for like 4 minutes about Reed Nico's impact on that game, and it was amazing. Tom Crean, weirdest opposing coach I've ever talked to. I'll just put that out there right now.
He's not there anymore, is he?
No, he got fired last year.
Yes,
Mike White is now there.
There's a lot of coaching turnover in the bottom half of the SEC, I believe. So that's another thing that could go into it. Missouri having a somewhat successful season. I just looked up the KenPom rankings. Also, KenPom needs to update his website. It's 2022, almost 2023, and his website still looks like it's from the thousands. But anyway, sorry, Ken. 52 is what Mizzou's ranked in KenPom. A little bit higher than I thought it was going to be. I'll be honest with you. But it is definitely fine. In Coastal Carolina, 186. So maybe me hyping Coastal Carolina up wasn't warranted, but
yeah.
Listen, you got to set the bar low.
I think there's a trophy for that game there. They're going to make one real quick between now and Wednesday night.
Listen, if that's an Eli Drinkwitz team, you can
Do we think that if Mizzou goes undefeated from now until that game against KU, do you think that there's a chance that they're ranked when that game happens?
I think it's possible because people just kind of look and go, I don't know, they're 9-0. They should probably be ranked. But I mean, honestly, that's how people do it.
And they score a lot of points. Like
I've had a lot of friends vote for these polls, and like, there's not that much research that goes into it. So.
I mean, what really can you research?
If
you don't watch the game,
like, do analytics and pay attention, right? But we choose not to do that sometimes.
Yeah,
just copy down KenPom's rankings. That's all you do for your poll. Listen, that'd be
all right.
So I'm going to do it. But all right, we've exhausted all of the content that Missouri Athletics has given us to talk about this week. We appreciate you guys listening all the way to the end. You guys have any final thoughts?
This is a busy week. I'll be happy next week when it's less busy. That's my final thought.
I agree.
Happy Thanksgiving, I guess. Hope you have some things in your life you're grateful for.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for you guys.
I'm grateful for trophies.
It's a good thing this podcast. It's a good thing at the end of this podcast we give out a trophy, or unless we would not play.
Wait, do we?
Give out a trophy.
Well, that sucks because I haven't gotten it yet. This is like the 16th episode, and I haven't gotten it once.
Maggie and I have just trading it back and forth. It's a traveling trophy. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Mizzou That's Who. Thank you guys for listening all the way until the end. Shout out to Charlie Hustle for outfitting us with some great clothes. Some great clothes from Charlie Hustle. Go check us out. You can check the link in the description below. If you want the new KCSN merch, I'm wearing the shirt today. I wear the hoodie all the time. I have to take it off eventually to wash it. So that's what it's doing right now. So you can also get some great Mizzou stuff right at charliehustle.com as well. So thank you to them. We will be back next week to talk about a bowl-eligible Missouri Tigers football team and a couple of Missouri Tigers wins. So until then, talk to you later.